If you have ever said it out loud or to yourself, what's going on with this person? In a situation where you're trying to figure out what people's motivations are, then you have come to the right episode of Life's Potluck Buffet. Thanks for joining me today. I'm John Paulas. So, as usual, I'm going to ask the cards to give us a prompt that answers the question, how do we understand people's motivations? And as I explained in the introduction, this is for when, we're trying to figure out what's behind people's intentions in our interactions with them and in what we're doing in work and life. So let's go to the cards here. All right, I'm going to do the casual shuffle. Again, on the bottom is the last card I drew yesterday. Get people's names right. Remember from that episode with 3 tips? That was the third. It was the third tip in terms of what we need to do in life. And so let me now do the casual shuffle. All right, I do that 3 times. And now I will do a standard shuffle. And then as I have the cards, there's lots of gaps in this. I look for gaps in the cards. This one has lots of stuff going on. I kind of have to interpret here what we're going to draw. So there's, I'll tell you the situation. We got one card that's popped up in the front, one that's popped up in the kind of first quarter of the deck, and then a whole bunch that have popped up in the center of it, and then there's one that's higher than the others, and I think I'm probably going to go with that one. And then there's in the back there are a few cards that are raised out of the deck as I'm looking at it, but I think I'm going to go with the card that has that is the highest profile card, because I think that's what maybe where the deck wants me to cut it. Okay, so I'm going to cut the deck there. I'm going to pull that card. All right. This is about hidden work. Reveal your hidden work to yourself and others. Oh, very interesting. And this card is all about hidden work. And that fits in well with understanding people's motivations because, hidden work is, hidden. And that's exactly what we're looking for, is we are trying to figure out what is the real motivation. And this card talks about how, you do an activity and you don't think of it as being work because you're like, that's not a real job. It's just something that I do. It's silly. I just do this silly thing. That's not really work. But this card tells us that those things that we say, that's just a silly thing I do, those are often and almost always, I find, central to the work that we do in life. And it may be a hobby, it may be paid work, it may be a volunteer work, it could be any type of work. Remember, everything we do in life is a form of work because we're giving effort and energy to these things. So that's the only way that we define work in Life's Potluck Buffet is things we give effort and energy to. And during the daytime when we're awake, that's us doing conscious work, giving conscious effort and energy to things. And then when we're asleep, the back of our minds have a full-time job. Remember that card? So work is the way that in the world of Life's Potluck Buffet, we think of all effort and energy. So this is interesting. I get what the cards are saying. So I think what the cards are saying here to do with other people's motivations is to understand the things that are not being said, the things that are left in gaps, that are unsaid or hidden. Looking for those things, looking out for what is not being said in this situation? Because I think what happens is when we get into these situations, when I get into these situations, I'm trying to figure out why is this person doing this or saying this? What is the story with this person here? Like, what are we really talking about? What are their intentions in what we're doing together? And to find that out, you can look for clues in what people say and write and do that will clearly tell you their motivations. So, for example, if a person keeps on saying they're going to do this, they're going to do this, they're going to do this, and they never do it, or if they say that's what they believe in doing, but you don't see that in action, that tells you a lot about their motivations. It tells you that something is going on with them where they're not doing this action for a reason. It's not just because, oh, I don't have any time. Oh, all of these kind of reasons to we say that we're not doing something. Looking beyond those and understanding what a person is hiding, in a sense, because we all express in our speech and in our actions, we are communicating something that is like crystal clear, we think, because we're writing it out or we're doing it. But what we don't, and often it is clear what the action is or what the statement that we have made is. However, there is a unseen, invisible motivation behind why we have done those actions. And understanding what that hidden motivation is will allow you to understand how to act in a situation, whether you need to do something or whether you need to get out of a situation, whether you're spinning your wheels by continuing a conversation, or whether whether the person is never going to do the action that they claim they're going to do because you're just not on the same page, because their words are saying that you're on the same page, but their motivation behind what they're doing is not on the same page. And once you understand that, you say, okay, well, I'll have to figure out a way to gently extricate myself from this situation and to operate from a place of your strength, understanding what your hidden motivations are, why you want to do something, get something done, why you are saying something to someone. And once you're operating from that place, you know what is truly on the table for you. And a lot of times, it's not something that's negotiable. It's something that where once you know what the motivations of the person involved are and what your motivations are, you can understand the differences. And often they're not rectifiable. Sometimes they are. And so I think that's the nice thing about this, is that you're basically determining what the situations that can be rectified by understanding the hidden motivations of the people acting in the situation, other people involved in the situation, and your own hidden motivations. And you can then move forward. And there's two ways of moving forward: continued collaboration or exiting. That's it. Everything in between is just kind of spinning wheels. And we see this all the time, and we get into these situations all the time. Sometimes, because of the nature of the situation, we're not allowed. It's out of our control. Remember yesterday we were talking about how 80% of what you do is not in your control. 20% of what you do is in your control. And in that 80% of situations where things aren't in your control, then you may not be able to extricate yourself from that situation. But it is going to cause you a lot more peace of mind and a lot less hassle if you understand in those 80% of the situations where you cannot extricate yourself and collaboration isn't working, that you know why that collaboration is not working, and you know why and by what the people involved in a situation are motivated, their hidden motivations, unsaid, unspoken, that they show in their words and actions when you look closely. So look for times when people are saying one thing and doing the opposite, and look out for when people say they're going to do something or say they're not going to do something in a way that is overly emphatic. Remember that card is that when we too forcefully say, I am not this or I am not going to do this, that we're saying the opposite. So look out for that in people's motivations as well, and look out for when their actions and when our actions don't match up with the words that we are saying, because that means there's some area there we need to understand better about why we're doing what we're doing and why we're not doing what we're not doing. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time on Life's Potluck Buffet.